Thank you for joining us here at Beyond the Bullion podcast. Today we're diving into something pretty interesting, a trend that seems to be picking up steam. Younger generations, specifically Millennials and Gen Z, getting more into silver and gold.
Yeah, it really is a noticeable shift. And we've got some great material to dig into today. Helps us understand why precious metals seem to be clicking with these younger groups now.
Exactly, that's the mission here, right? To really unpack what's driving this. We've pulled insights from a couple of recent YouTube videos that caught our eye. One's called Millennials and Gen Z Buying More Precious Metals Than Others, but heed this warning from Salivate Metal.
hmm
And the other is why Gen X Millennials Gen Z can also secure their future with gold from ITM trading, INC.
Two really good sources, and they offer maybe slightly different but valuable angles on why younger folks are looking at gold and silver.
For sure. So let's jump in. What's the kind of the big picture that emerges first?
Well, the first thing that really jumps out, especially from the cellular metal piece, is this growing awareness among millennials and Gen Z,
Huh.
an awareness about, well, issues with our current money system,
Mhm.
fiat currency, inflation, that sort of thing.
Ah, the inflation piece. Yeah, that seems unavoidable right now.
It really is. And while rising inflation hits everyone, the source points out that these younger generations are notably increasing how much gold and silver they're actually accumulating.
And it's not just a feeling, is it? There's data.
Right. The Salivate Metal video actually mentions a State Street report. It found millennials have a higher average chunk of their portfolio in gold, something like 17%.
17%. Wow. How does that compare?
Well, compare that to boomers and Gen X, who are apparently closer to 10%.
Okay, so that definitely challenges the old idea that, precious metals are just for older, maybe more conservative investors.
Totally flips the script.
So why? Why this difference between the generations? That's the fascinating part.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? One thought is maybe millennials, growing up seeing things like the 2008 crisis.
Right, formative experiences.
Exactly. They might just have a different take on, let's say, risk and what it means to preserve wealth. And the ITM trading video sort of echoes this. It suggests younger people are really trying to understand how money fundamentally works.
And that search leads them towards gold and silver.
It naturally leads them to at least consider the history, the enduring value of gold and silver.
Okay, but the Salivate Metal video had a warning, right? Something about how they're investing.
Yes, a really important point. It highlighted that millennials, in particular, seem to favor the convenience of gold ETFs, exchange-traded funds.
Okay.
The number was pretty high, like 69% of millennials using ETFs compared to, say, 55% of boomers or only 35% of Gen X.
69%. That's a lot. So what's the warning? What's the critical difference between an ETF and, holding a gold coin in your hand?
Ah, the core distinction. So with an ETF, you get exposure to the price of gold, sure, but you don't own the metal itself.
Okay.
And that, the Salivate Metal source stresses, brings in counterparty risk. You're basically trusting the fund, the custodians, their financial health.
Right, there are other parties involved.
Exactly. Whereas physical gold or silver, that's more like single-party risk. It's just you, trusting yourself to keep it safe. The ITM trading guest put it very simply. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's pretty clear. It's like having the deed to your house versus investing in a big real estate fund.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
The convenience factor of ETFs is huge, though, especially now with online trading being so easy. But it sounds like maybe that message about physical ownership is getting through. Are younger generations actually buying physical metal too?
Yes, they are. That's another key point from the Salivate Metal video. Despite that ETF preference, both millennials and Gen Z are increasingly starting to stack physical gold and silver.
Okay, so it's not just paper promises.
No, it suggests there's a growing appreciation for having something tangible, something you can actually control directly.
So where are they getting this information? How are they developing this understanding? It probably isn't from traditional financial advisors, I'm guessing.
Probably not exclusively, no. Both videos really underscore the role of online resources, YouTube channels, educational websites.
Makes sense.
The Salivate Metal video is quite specific, saying young investors are actively using these platforms to learn about building wealth, how gold and silver might fit into a diversified portfolio. They're using the internet to find alternative strategies.
And the Salivate Metal source also mentioned FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, and social media.
Oh, absolutely. You see movements like Wall Street Silver online. That kind of thing can definitely generate buzz.
Yeah, create a sense of urgency.
Definitely influences decisions, especially for younger people who are really plugged into those digital communities.
Is that a good thing, though? Investing based on FOMO?
Well, that's the caution, isn't it? The Salivate Metal source wisely warns against making choices just based on that fear. It really stresses understanding the why behind precious metals and thinking long term.
Which brings us back to that State Street report finding you mentioned earlier. The one saying 88% see gold as a long-term hold.
Precisely.
And over 70% think it actually improves their overall portfolio performance. So for most, it doesn't sound like just a quick fad.
No, not at all. Both sources really suggest that many younger investors aren't looking at gold and silver as a get-rich-quick scheme. It's more like financial insurance, a safe haven, a way to protect themselves against economic bumps in the road.
A store of value.
Exactly. The ITM trading guest even calls physical gold and silver real money, pointing to its long history of stability, unlike, well,
Unlike the currencies we use day to day, and that motivation, that long-term view, it seems really tied to their economic reality, doesn't it? The ITM training video talked a lot about the financial pressures, the cost of living.
oh, definitely. The guest there talks about this disconnect younger generations feel. Their income just isn't keeping up with basics like rent, food. They contrasted it with, maybe a generation or two ago when one income could often support a family. Now it takes two incomes or multiple jobs just to tread water sometimes.
And they link that to the dollar losing value.
Yes, they explicitly mention the devaluation of the dollar by design, a real concern about the long-term purchasing power of fiat currency.
It feels like it taps into that whole narrative, that feeling maybe the American dream isn't quite the same deal anymore.
Yeah, that traditional path, work hard, buy a house, retire comfortably, it feels less certain for many.
And the sources mention specific things like the 2008 crash and student loan debt being huge factors for millennials and Gen Z.
Huge factors. Those events really shook confidence. The ITM trading video also touches on government policies, like guaranteeing student loans, maybe pushing tuition costs up. And then there's other economic stuff, like moving away from LIBOR for loans, central banks hiking rates. It all adds to a sense of instability, potential debt bubbles popping.
It's a lot of uncertainty, and it's
Yeah.
interesting that focus on long-term security with something tangible like gold, contrasted with what the ITM trading guest called our society's focus on instant gratification.
Right, we're kind of conditioned to want everything now.
Yeah.
But these younger investors seem to be realizing, okay, maybe I need something solid for the long haul.
Does that tie into concerns about the future of money itself, like digital currencies?
It seems to. The ITM trading video brought up potential central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. And maybe more worryingly for some, the idea that CBDCs could lead to more government control over finances, maybe even linked to social credit scores.
Wow, okay. So holding physical metal could be seen as a way to maintain some financial independence outside of that kind of system.
That seems to be part of the thinking for some, yeah. Which brings us right back to the core appeal of physical gold and silver.
No counterparty risk.
Exactly. As the ITM trading guest stressed, it's real, it's tangible, it's been used as money for thousands of years. Salivate Metal mentioned its historical, even constitutional significance.
Unlike fiat money, which is essentially created from debt and can, well, be devalued.
Precisely. Gold and silver have held their value through empires rising and falling. The ITM trading video even points to history, where governments have confiscated gold, which just shows how much even they recognize its fundamental value and maybe its threat to their control.
Understanding that history seems crucial then. Learning about things like the gold standard, why we left it.
It provides essential context for figuring out what's happening now, definitely.
So for these younger people facing all these challenges, getting some physical gold and silver is like building a personal wealth shield. I think that was the phrase used in the ITM video.
That's the concept, a shield against currency erosion, economic storms.
Right.
And they differentiate a bit to silver, maybe being more practical for smaller barter-type situations if things got really tough.
Right.
While gold is more for preserving significant wealth and maybe positioning for opportunities that arise later.
And it's not just about the metals, is it? The ITM guest mentioned other things.
Yeah, a broader perspective on resilience, thinking about self-sufficiency, food, water, energy, security, and also building community, connecting with like-minded people.
So it's a whole mindset shift towards preparing for uncertainty.
It really seems to be,
Yeah.
a deep concern for long-term security.
Well, it's certainly clear from this deep dive that younger generations aren't just passively accepting the status quo. They're actively looking for solutions to unique economic challenges. And for many, that involves turning back to the enduring value of silver and gold.
The reasons are complex, definitely. Worries about inflation, the stability of fiat money, just wanting something tangible.
Hmm.
It all plays a part. But the desire for long-term security seems central.
We really hope exploring these sources has given you some valuable insights into this really significant trend. And, if you are thinking about acquiring physical precious metals yourself, our sponsor, At Cost Metals, offers a very straightforward way to do that. They provide metals at cost, which is a pretty unique approach. Worth checking out if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us here at Beyond the Bullion podcast for this deep dive. We hope you'll join us again next time as we continue to explore the forces shaping our financial world.